Native Americans, the Native American Indians, and their interaction with the Sasquatch, or Bigfoot, if you will. Their interactions, if you look on preliminary scales, but I sent you this picture to be posted. Now, this is ancient writings that were fortified on cave walls years and years ago. And because of that, it shows that the Native Americans and these Sasquatch work together. They have. The Sasquatch were hyper intelligent beings, more or less an infusal of an extraterrestrial formation code of a humanoid. And they assisted these Native Americans, Indians, to learn about the forces of life and the knowledge of the attainment code of the equality of what an extraterrestrial realm can fortify itself on. Now, the reason why that has been lost since long ago, and they have named these different species too, the ancient American Indians, and they have named them, worked with them. But since then, since humankind has pretty much screwed up shit, the neural standards have drove them away since then. And their coexistence has been pretty much cut off. And it goes as well to what's coming next through the mermaids.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 8. Blue, how are you?
I'm well today, Mike.
Good, good. Hey, we got a big show today. We got a lot to talk about. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, the first thing we can initialize about are the microwaves, 5G, and the networking and similar electronics, including phones, which are purposely made preliminary with higher advanced electrical equipment and manufactured to cause radiation poisoning and sickness upon mankind and the infrastructure, as well as biolabs, which can become a similar priority but cause biogeneric sicknesses, as well as degenerative diseases, including manufacturing more rats or similar types of mice, plagues, stuff like that. And some of it's made into an attribute, and up to including certain insects as well, including cockroaches, and as well as mosquitoes, which we've already explained preliminary on another network show.
All right, awesome. And I know we got a bunch of other stuff to talk about as well, but let's get right into it. Let's talk about the microwaves and the phones and the 5G. Tell me what's going on. You're saying that they're purposely put out there to give us radiation?
Yes, it's a radiation poisoning. And if you think about it, microwaves itself, you put food into the attribute. It doesn't induct the food right as it is. It makes it more dry, and it's caused by radiation as it is, circuitry codes that induct through microwaves. And phones itself inoculate through a type of radioactive frequency code. These technologies, they can either inoculate bad neural transmissions or can cause others to get sick on their own attributes. Microwaves are a newer type of technology, but they've been around. And this type of technology does not need to be maintained for mankind because there are much better things. And it includes baking, air frying, and actually using a stove instead of this, because this is a lazy way, and it's also a way that's causing others to downsize upon themselves. Includes phones too, like I had stated, the wristbands, the communication system, phones currently, too much ensnarement, and too much radiation upon the infrastructure.
We've become instant gratification society. We have to have it right away. We stand in front of the microwave and say, hurry up, I don't have all minute. You know, it is crazy when you think about it. But I mean, what can we do nowadays? It's all around us. You have, even if you choose not to have a microwave in your house, or not to use a cellular phone, or, you know, for some, I don't even know if the word cellular is right anymore, digital, whatever they call them now, phones, 5G. It's almost like you want to stay away from those things, but they're all around us. So is there any choice? Is there any option to get out of it, to get away from it totally?
Well, and I also didn't exclaim about the 5G towers. That's a definitive answer to a bad neural standards. That's one of the things that are core manipulating graphene bad effects as well. And going back to the phone ad diffusion wave, preliminary skills as would obtain between Elon Musk and others at acquisition for the quantum wristbands. Those are the better types of communication devices. The phones, they're more or less, that's not what would cause radiation infrastructure. More or less, that's just cause more or less ensnarement into your neural standard ways. You're stuck on something so much throughout the day, you can't even get up and motivate yourself. It does cause the society of mankind to become fat as well, and lazy, like you have said. Switching from one technology to a better type may be what humans need, and also subsidizing themselves to their own heritage of their nativity, and which will go into what we're going to speak about next.
Well,
about the Native Americans.
Just and before we do, just real quick, it was interesting you brought up the bugs before, the insects, the mosquitoes and cockroaches, and we're talking about radiation and so forth. And it's always been my understanding that if there was a nuclear event on this planet that wiped out all civilization as we know it, cockroaches would be one of the few things that were left, because from what I understand, I haven't done it, it hasn't been an experiment of mine, but you know, if you put a cockroach in a microwave, nothing's going to happen. It's not going to explode. It's not going to heat up. It's almost like, you know, they can't get any radiation poisoning or sickness or effects or anything. So how does that tie in, or does it tie in with what you were saying?
Because they were manually biogenetically made, and they are a nuisance upon mankind. We already know that. Gotten a lot worse in many other areas too, including hotter areas around the globe. And the type of infrastructure, as well as others, do not need to be integrated here. I mean, there can be a point of time where humans can inadvertently learn to understand own quantum mechanics and replicate from that in a better wavelength than self-inducing things that could cause harm around them and the entire infrastructure itself, including these type of insects. Mosquitoes play a different role, and that causes sicknesses and biogeneric diseases. Cockroaches display diseases on their own, like plagues and other bad polarity ways. But they're nuisances, more or less. They get into food, they cause you to get sick, and as well as their own maintainment code, they multiply too fast.
So with that in mind, is it out of question to think that they could be weaponized?
In a way, they kind of already are, because humans, and it's been a while, it's been like this for a while. I mean, they always been around like this. If you think about it, these insects have not always been around bad like this. Now, you're pouring in all these chemicals to shoot off like raid and all that off these insects right in front of others, and it's causing them to get sick too. They need to generalize an idea that can format this entire planet into better construction node. Otherwise, the species is inoculate, they'll overtake.
Crazy stuff. What you had mentioned, we were going to talk about Native Americans. Tell me more.
The Native American Indians and their interaction with the Sasquatch, or Bigfoot, if you will. Their interactions, if you look on preliminary scales, that I sent you this picture to be posted. Now, this is ancient writings that were fortified on cave walls years and years ago. And because of that, it shows that the Native Americans and these Sasquatch work together. They have. The Sasquatch were hyper intelligent beings, more or less an infusal of an extraterrestrial formation code of a humanoid. And they assisted these Native Americans, Indians, to learn about the forces of life and the knowledge of the attainment code of the equality of what an actual terror realm can fortify itself on. Now, the reason why that has been lost since long ago, and they have named these different species too, the ancient American Indians, and they have named them, worked with them. But since then, since humankind has pretty much screwed up shit, the neural standards have drove them away since then. And their coexistence has been pretty much cut off. And it goes as well to what's coming next through the mermaids and the ancient. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I'm excited to talk about mermaids here, but is there a large population of Bigfoot or Sasquatch today, or have they all been wiped out and they're truly a rare existence?
Well, they're here, but they hide. They hide and they live in forests, data streams away from mankind. I mean, polarizing effect, many have said and noticed that they've been watching people, but they won't come up and harm them. You've always seen it up on networking and stuff about people, how they bump into them, they see them peek through windows and stuff, or they try to get in people's houses. They don't come up and attack unless you're dealing with the more abominable types, which relate through the Himalayans and the Yetis. Those, they never coexisted with mankind. They were more or less, if you think about wild dogs or wild cats, they're feral.
Is there a way? Is there a way that we think? Is there a way that we think that this species communicated with the Native Americans? Did they do that telepathically? Did they do that with some sort of language that was common between the two of them?
Whistling. There's learning through whistling, languages through the hands. There have been certain types of signs, certain knocking and stuff. That stuff that the Bigfoot do now, and like the hunters, they've noticed they do the knocking and things, and the whistling, or the screaming. There'll be a certain type of sound that they'll make to relay they do, and they have done that with the Native Americans as well. Their heritage still stands with that. So telepathically, yes, because Sasquatch also have psychic powers. So they have taught these ancient Native Americans these types of powers and being able to communicate in a better doctrine with the forces of the lower specimens of life through hyper telepathy and an understanding.
And now we got to go to mermaids. You teased it there for a second. Tell me more about the mermaids.
All right. The mermaids and also the signature coatings that deal with the dolphins. Dolphins and mermaids are an actual encoding of an Atlantean sequencing code brought here, generated from higher platforms. Now, they had tried to coexist with mankind, but there has been another painting that has showed the ancient mankind had spears and were pretty much stabbing at the mermaids, drove them away. These civilizations marked what happened to Atlantis. The mermaids were doctrined through the advanced or ancient civilizations of mankind at that time, but got split apart. That is one reason why that generative formation code never existed anymore.
So we're saying
one
that
reason why Atlantis down.
They were hunted. They were hunted out.
And they existed with an ancient race of mankind in Atlantis at one time. And that's why there have been substructures that were collapsed underwater, they have found. There's a newer type of civilization that existed through these, but like I said, they're kind of like Bigfoot. They don't pre-ops the scale with humankind anymore, except for a few governments, militaries, and certain type of eliminatory skills in humankind that are unacceptable.
Now, The dolphins, you had
right
mentioned
now.
dolphins. They're closely related to mermaids then?
Yes, they work with them, as well as they had found out years ago how pods of dolphins or pods of killer whales or even whales themselves, when they transacted sonar frequency underwater, there was some other type of cellular wavelength like that, but it sounded like human.
Hmm. Hmm. And is that
So
why
the
we
Dolphinese
consider
in the whale.
is that why we consider dolphins to be one of the smartest creatures on the planet next to us? I mean, they are really that intelligent and really, I mean, you hear
Absolutely.
stories and you see things about dolphins helping humans and in bad situations on occasion, or dolphins being very trainable. I know they don't do these things much anymore at places like SeaWorld and so forth, but is that why we're so close to dolphins? Because of that level of intelligence, because of that relationship that we've had in the past?
Yes, that is one reason. And they still coexist with the mermaids, if you will, the ancient Atlantean sequencing codes.
So we're saying that mermaids and a Bigfoot or Sasquatch type species, they do exist, they have existed, and they exist to this day.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think that's believable. I mean, people tell me, well, I haven't seen this or I haven't seen that. I haven't seen oxygen, but I breathe it every day. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You can believe in it or not believe in it. That's up to you.
Right.
The communication that we had over the years with the dolphins, though, did they come off? Did that separate a little bit about the same time with the mermaids being hunted off, and Atlantis? Is that what we're saying here? That's when we broke apart from the dolphins.
Well, the dolphins still generate with mankind. They still communicate. We know that. SeaWorld, you think about Orlando SeaWorld and other places that have communications. They'll never dislodge from that. The neural standards are a little bit different from the mermaids. Justified though, they are inoculated higher beings and they do deserve some type of respect back always because they are generated from what these types of innate codes that go through the documentation of Atlantis itself.
Is there a time or a way that we could be in Atlantis in the future, that our civilization could be wiped out like that, and thousands of years from now we could be looked at as the lost civilization like Atlantis?
Well, there could be a time where humans can coexist with these beings again in lateral terminology as well with Sasquatch. If they learn to use their neural standards right and justify it and understanding better.
It's amazing. It'd be wonderful if we could indeed capture, and I use the word capture loosely, but somehow communicate with these beings and somehow, create some sort of, I'm sure there's a lot we could learn from a Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or a mermaid. And I'm sure there's even more we could learn about dolphins. I mean, think about it. The planet's covered by water. Over 2/3 of the planet's covered by water, and we know less about what's underneath the water than we do a lot of other things on this planet. And that just doesn't seem right. It seems like it should be the opposite. We've talked about USOs, or there being civilizations under the water, or advanced intellect, or beings from other places on our planet possibly being stationed under the water. Is there some sort of direct relationship, do you think, with mermaids and dolphins with these beings?
Yes, absolutely. Because it doesn't run through that paradox effects. You got to think about other beings that run along the signature coding of the oceanic grid itself. You're talking about things like the Kraken. I mean, they could be good and bad scenarios, but also they live deep down. Generics and efficient wavelengths. We're dealing with higher polarity spheres. Paradox that go through tunnels and through other systematic grids itself.
And that begs the question, because some of the most exotic creatures that I've seen on this planet live underwater. I mean, think about things like lobster, octopus, crab, things of this nature. They seem almost otherworldly. Is that a great possibility that a lot of these creatures are indeed from other places and were brought here?
Yes, as well as many are still unknown. And it is true that a lot of humanity has not had the application of exploring a lot of the ocean yet. That goes as well to the digitalized geographic lines of what they were dislodged from to be able to go and explore. Bermuda Triangle, if you think about it, the reason why people have been lost there, the reason why weird things have been happening, including plane disappearances, and yes, even islands appearing or something else, is because it's one of the paradox dimensional effects of an underwater oceanic mainframe of something that relays to a paranormal inner world spectrum as well as what has been on top. It's hidden. So set that into effect. There's still a lot of hidden things.
You know, and it's amazing to me with as much money as there is in things. I know we're going to talk about big pharma and so forth here in a second, but for as much money as there is in this world, you would think that big pharma in places like this would be all outside and ready to go and ready to do what they have to do to learn from what's underneath the ocean and learn from these creatures. And maybe we can find things out, or possible cures, or possible changes to the way we do things here. Maybe a more natural way of doing things. Maybe we can learn a lot. You think there's a connection between what we can learn as a species and how we can improve our own health and our own being if we opened up and explored these things?
Absolutely. It depends on how you generate your own graphical effect and how you'd be able to maintain the opening standards of a neural effect. And the gateway processing skill is one way to maintain that neural effect, as well as a deeper understanding for the life forces of where you are currently staying at. Designated, you got to learn to respect.
Well, it's amazing to me because it seems to me that some of the things that Big Pharma tries to steer us away from are natural things, are things that we could get benefits from: the food, the sun, water, whatever. They don't want you to know about those things. They want you to know about this magic pill. They want you to know about this magic jab here that you can take. Tell me more about that. Tell me more about boosting our immune system and not having to deal as much with Big Pharma.
Well, the best way to boost the immune system is transact reflect what God's source would have attained to humankind in the first place. And that goes through sunlight, that goes through L-lysine, which is a certain type of generated thing. You can get it over the counter, but it is a good immune booster. And it goes through, keeping away from certain diseases and other structures as well. Now, coconut, bananas, garlic, ginger, cinnamon, natural tea, which is an antioxidant, blueberries, very much so, would help boost your immune system as well as keep your stomach in check. Yep. Why I say this, because if mankind keeps generating in a bad wavelength, they're going to self-induct to their own pre-ops skill. It's not going to come out good. Until the quantum technologies come into effect for us on this globe, humans got to start learning to use their smarts. And by using your smarts, is think about what was brought to you instead of generating what was fortified on a biolab. Know the right and wrong.
It's crazy because, you would think that they can make a lot of money on things. I think that those things would be cheaper if we just, and things would be better on this planet if we just did what you said, used what's naturally given to us, use what's available to us, and not being sold the big show here by Big Pharma. And we've seen that recently with the recent lockdowns and all the stuff that we've been through the past couple years. If you look at the end result here, they're still pushing those jabs. They're still pushing for people they're still trying to milk money out of the situation here. They're still trying to get more money. I see the the government's just extended the pandemic here, even though they've come out and said that no, we're not under any pandemic conditions. It's just I believe in the virus. Okay, I think there was a virus. I'm just not sure the pandemic part of things were real. And is this a crime against humanity? I mean, what's going to happen here? What do you think the end game is here?
Well, if they do not align the Federation of the order that needs to be affected here and the quantum technologies and the higher representatives, things will keep downsizing. Think of a deep state euthanization period and prolonging it and scattering it across the mainframe. But they even know that they gotta stop, because mankind has to have that perceivable time of effect to maintain themselves in a hyper upgrade quality form. And it's as simple as that. You cannot justify one process of a negative wave speed. Think you can go along with it and ignore the next divinity process code. It is as simple as that. People need to understand that this is reality and you're in Revelations. But you also need to understand that it's not entirely written on the book, but there are so much more going on behind the scenes.
Now, what can I do? What can I do? Like, what are the big things that I can do to make sure that I'm doing everything right for me and my family and doing everything right? Let's say I'm taking a bunch of stuff right now from Big Pharma and from doctors. We're not doctors, and we're not saying stop taking your pills or stop doing this or stop doing that, but just explore a more natural way. Was that what we're saying here?
Yes, until quantum technologies can be placed right. Justify the retro speed access point of mankind will keep downsizing otherwise. They gotta learn to use their smarts. Learn to meditate on their own free will. Learn to find the wave source and inoculated speeds like the ancient American Indians have. The ancient tribes learning their own wave notes. I mean, look how healthy they were. Think about all those years back of how they had generated great. Because they are not propulsion onto something that was maintained on a biogeneric lab. Now think of that as well. You can make your own medicinals out of these equality statuses of natural remedies. That's not impossible. Many people have done it, and I'm sure you can find stores that have type of natural medicines, or even pharmacies, something better than this central induction wave. Now I know humans, and until this type of technology of a better wave phase comes out, some can't do nothing but have no choice. What can you do? If you have no choice, you have no choice at this time. But what I'm saying about these graphene effects, though, the shots themselves, avoid that. Because that is a defeat and deception and inoculation into removal of a mainframe and to polarizing something else. If you want to be into a next uploaded format and generated wave, avoid that type of inoculated effect.
Now, is there anything specific that you can tell us that you're doing with your work with the Federation, with the Space Force? Is there anything that we should be aware of that's going on behind the scenes on your end?
Yes, I can tell you all this, that I'm working with other leaders and added effect just a recent one into maintainment of an attribution of technologies and priority between myself and Kennedy Jr. to maintaining a better equality on this planet. So we, through the Q force or the initialization of the Federation itself, have been able to move forward through this and an acquisition line to generate things better when it needs to be generated on a finality node.
Okay.
To give mankind hope that there are already technologies out there that are given out widespread to others to bring about that age. So they know it's already being prepared. Besides what is already being set and done through a military's protocol and a better agenda through the Space Force and Air Force.
Awesome. And Blu, I really appreciate you today. Of course, as every time we have the opportunity to get together, do you have a final word for us today?
Yes. In justified wave speeds, 2 orders of effect. Go through a doctrine of a divine order of a cosmic and light source, and knowing that that better retro speed will go for what the third age is. Run away from an order that would decimate your own being and the entire planet. itself and remove that on its own equilibrium. And to those that run that negative order, maintain yourselves and know you cannot run something and excuse something else. This is all I'm saying to them. Whatever I'm saying to everyone else, learn from your own actions. And if you got some type of psychic power, or you got something you know could help the planet, motivate yourself to doing such. Each to their own that can help widespread to bring a better equalization stasis upon here.
Wonderful stuff. This was our 8th episode here. That's great stuff there. Hey, just a reminder, wherever you're listening or wherever you're watching us from, go ahead and like and subscribe, and go ahead and hit the notifications so you know when we post some new material here. And go ahead and share this stuff with a friend. Share this stuff with some other people. It's always great to open up your mind to new ideas. Blu, I thank you as always, and I look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you too, Mike. You have a great day.
All right.